I don't think the From Season 4 finale was just setting up Season 5. I think it quietly revealed how the game actually works, because by the end of this episode, the entire system had shifted. The monsters have a massive new advantage. The town is more vulnerable than it's ever been, and for the first time, it feels like every side is making its move. But what really caught my attention weren't the big moments, it was the clues hidden underneath them. So today, I'm breaking down 5 clues that you probably missed that completely change how we should think about the system of FROMVILLE, and why the finale may have just kicked off the real end game. And I'll also be discussing some of the unanswered questions that I have after watching this episode. But before I get started, let me introduce myself if you're new here. And if you're not new here, then welcome back. My name is Brandi, and I realize that you could be on any channel in the world, but you're right here with me, and I really do appreciate that. So please go ahead and like this video. It really does help the channel out, and again, I greatly appreciate it. And also subscribe to the channel if you do enjoy watching TV show breakdowns. Now, clue number 1 is the light. The finale revealed a real strategy that the townspeople can possibly use to fight back. And if I'm right, it can eventually aid them in their escape out of FROMVILLE. We saw on this episode that the monsters couldn't approach Jade and Tabitha in the cavern while the sunlight was pouring into the caves when the bottle tree was removed. And that's huge, because this confirms that daylight isn't just when the monsters choose to stay inside, it actually limits them. The moment the sunlight beams on Jade and Tabitha, they keep their distance. But the second the sky suddenly turns dark, everything changes. The monsters immediately regain the advantage. And that made me think back to something SOPHIA said all the way back in episode 1 of this season.
The light shines in the darkness, and the darkness shall not overcome it.
And at that time, when she was talking to Kenny, it just sounded like a Bible verse. But now I wonder if it was actually a clue. Because what if light isn't just symbolic in From? What if it's one of the few things that can actually push the darkness back? And that also reminded me of the star theory we talked about in my last video. Throughout the season, the show kept drawing our attention to the stars. Not even just this season, all 4 seasons. And what are the stars? They're literally light shining in the darkness. And in From, that symbolism, in my opinion, isn't just poetic. Maybe it's been pointing us towards one of the answers of how to escape FROMVILLE all along. But here's the sad part. At the end of this finale, we see that Boyd, Ellis, Fatima, Jade, and Tabitha are trapped underground, with the monsters quickly approaching. And if the people in town up above, if they knew what we just learned, that sunlight can keep the monsters from fully operating, I don't think that they would hesitate for a second. They'd be ripping up more trees so they could flood those tunnels with daylight and give their people a fighting chance. So maybe the goal isn't just to destroy the monsters, maybe it's to take away the darkness they've always depended on. Because seeing that sunlight reclaim even part of the cave should be a huge revelation for Jade and Tabitha, and I can't wait for them to tell Boyd and the rest of the team. If the monsters fear the daylight and the townspeople fear the night, then maybe it's time to bring more daylight into the monsters' homes. For 4 seasons, the townspeople have been hiding from the monsters at night, and maybe it's time to make the monsters hide from the townspeople during the day. Obviously, that won't save them from the man in yellow, and of course, this is From, so every solution comes with a cost. If the townspeople do start flooding the caves with sunlight, they might gain an advantage over the monsters, but they could also trigger another response from the system. And clue number 2 is the boy in white and the man in yellow's conversation. One of the most important scenes in the finale lasts less than 1 minute. Right before SOPHIA throws the talismans in the faraway tree, the boy in white appears and he tells her, "You're gonna lose this time." And SOPHIA, she gives her weird little smile and she replies, "I've always admired your optimism." And that exchange tells us a few things. First, this clearly isn't their first encounter. Although this is the first time we see them having a conversation, they talk like 2 people who have played the game before. And second, it reinforces one of the biggest metaphors in From. The show keeps describing this place as a game. There are players, there are rules, there are winners, and there are losers. But it also keeps describing FROMVILLE through Ethan's storybook as well. And in the storybook, there are heroes, there are monsters, quests, and chosen characters. characters. So which one is it? At this point, I don't think it's one or the other. I think that the storybook explains the characters while the game explains the rules. And together, they support the system theory that I've been talking about all season long. But here's what really caught my attention. The man in yellow is constantly making moves. He manipulates people, he sets traps, and he actively changes the board. And the boy in white, he doesn't. He just watches, he appears, and he gives cryptic clues. If he's seen this game before, why doesn't he do more to help? Is he unable to interfere? Is he just a spectator? Or is he playing by a different set of rules? Because before I call the boy in white our ally, I need to know why he keeps watching our people suffer while only giving them pieces of the truth. So again, I think the storybook tells us who the players are, while the game tells us the rules they're forced to play by. And the showrunners seem to recently reinforce this idea. They revealed that the characters weren't randomly chosen to end up in FROMVILLE. If the players were chosen before they ever arrived, then maybe the game doesn't begin when you enter FROMVILLE. Maybe the characters have been playing all along. Which leads us to clue number 3, the battle that began after the bottle tree was uprooted. I think the moment the bottle tree came down, the game completely changed. Think about the sequence of events. Jade and Tabitha, they retrieve the bones, and Radio Boyd's team to remove the bottle tree. The tree falls, the rope ladder is lowered, but it suddenly breaks, sending Tabitha crashing back into the tunnels. But then something fascinating happens. The monsters began chasing Jade and Tabitha, but they can't get close because the sunlight pouring into the tunnel keeps them back. And at that point, it looks like Jade and Tabitha have the advantage. Then almost instantly, the sky goes dark in the middle of the day. We see a violent red lightning storm that rolled in, and night falls out of nowhere. Or it actually could have been an eclipse, because an eclipse, it doesn't necessarily remove the sunlight. It doesn't eliminate it. It just temporarily blocks it, almost as if something or someone covered the light just long enough for the monsters to regain the advantage. And suddenly the monsters could move again once that eclipse happened. But the story doesn't end there. It was a lot of back and forth. Just when it looks like Jade and Tabitha are trapped, an earthquake opens up a brand new passage through the caves, giving them a way to escape. Then the monsters chase them into the dead end, but another earthquake seals the entrance behind them, cutting the monsters off completely. Do you see the pattern here? One side gains an advantage, and then the other side immediately responds. It's almost like we're watching two forces fight over the same pieces in real time. And whatever the bottle tree was doing, whether it was an anchor, a stabilizer, or something else entirely, it was important enough to trigger an all-out battle after it was uprooted. But here's the part that really reinforces my belief that FROMVILLE is some type of system. If every move is immediately met with a counter move, then it doesn't feel like two supernatural beings acting independently. It feels more like they're operating inside of a system. Something like a constructed reality that's constantly recalibrating itself. Almost like there are rules that constantly force the balance to be restored. And certain events just have to play out. It's almost as if FROMVILLE isn't fully choosing sides, it's just maintaining the game. And if that's true, then maybe the man in yellow isn't controlling FROMVILLE like I suspected all along. He's just playing within it. And maybe we haven't even met the real big bad yet. And clue number 4 is Fatima's transformation. By the end of the episode, she volunteers to go underground with Boyd and Alice because she can sense when the monsters are coming. Then, in one of the most emotional moments of the finale, she tells everyone to run while she stays behind to stall the monsters. But before she fully transforms, she says something that I don't think was meant just for Alice. She says, "Remember who I was." And that line really stuck with me because it tells us that Fatima knows she's about to lose something much bigger than her human appearance. She's afraid she's about to lose herself. And yet, even after she transforms, her first instinct isn't to attack the townspeople, it's to protect them. And that really got me thinking, what if this is exactly how the original monsters started? back in season 1, one of the monsters even said, "We didn't choose to be this way." And at the time, most of us just assumed it was just another lie. But after watching Fatima's transformation, I'm not so sure, because maybe becoming a monster doesn't instantly erase your humanity. Maybe it happens slowly over time. Maybe every monster started exactly where Fatima is now, still remembering who they were, still trying to protect the people that they loved. But over time, something changes. The monsters don't just kill, they seem to feed on the fear, the suffering, and control over time, that is. So what if becoming a monster also means inheriting a hunger that slowly becomes stronger than your memory? Fatima can still resist it because she just transformed. But what happens after weeks, after decades? What if that hunger eventually becomes louder than love? Suddenly, the monster's behavior, it starts to make a lot more sense, because maybe they don't just torture people because they're simply evil. Maybe they're just feeding something inside themselves that they can no longer control. And if that's true, then Fatima's story isn't just setting up season 5. It may have finally shown us how FROMVILLE turns ordinary people into the monsters that we've known since season 1. Also, I think we need to go back and rewatch every interaction Fatima had before her pregnancy. Because if becoming a monster is a process and not a single event, then the clue we're looking for may have happened long before any of us realized that it mattered. And more importantly, what exactly happened to her that could potentially happen to someone else? And clue number 5, I might be reaching with this one, guys. Let me know down below. But Donna really stood out to me in the finale, which is odd because she really didn't get a lot of screen time. And it's not because I secretly think she's the man in yellow or anything, but it's because she may have been unknowingly helping Henry carry out Sophia's plan. Ever since Henry drank Sophia's blood, he's been having the visions of a peaceful life in a care facility. And Henry, he even envisioned Victor telling him, once you accept that it's a dream, the dream is going to provide you with everything you need. And that line hit me differently after the finale, because that's exactly what seems to happen. Donna almost provided Henry with everything he needed. So we see that Donna, she encouraged him to go see Victor, not once, but twice. And after Henry saw the bullets in the can of the peaches, Donna told him that boy took Victor's gun and that is down at the sheriff's station. And then we see Henry go to the station and retrieve the gun. And fortunately, he does not kill our boy Victor, and I was so proud of Victor for standing up for himself. But back to Donna, I'm not saying that she intentionally set things in motion, but I do think it's interesting that every piece that Henry needed to follow out the dream's instructions were quietly placed in front of him by Donna. And then there's the different camera angles and the cinematography. During Julie and Ethan's conversation, Donna is deliberately framed in the background, watching them, and behind her we see pale yellow curtains. Again, I'm not saying she's the man in yellow, but I do think the writers are trying to tell us something about Donna, because From has always been intentional with its visual language. So I have to wonder, was the show simply reminding us that Donna was there, or was it quietly telling us to pay attention to her? Because whether she's a mole, someone who made a bargain, or simply another pawn being manipulated by the system, Donna's actions moved Henry closer to attempting to kill Victor. Now let's move on to the question section. First question, am I reading too much into this, or did Smiley seem different? I understand why he stopped attacking Marielle after hearing Fatima scream, but we see that when he was leaving the clinic and Christy and crew were driving past him, why didn't he attack them? He was just casually strolling down the street like a normal person. So I don't know what's going on with Smiley. Is he becoming more intelligent, more focused, or is there something else going on? And my second question, what did you guys think about Jade lying to Boyd and the others? He admitted that he told them the bones would protect them in the chambers because he knew that Boyd wouldn't approve the mission otherwise. But personally, I am team Jade on this one, because at some point you have to stop surviving and start fighting your way out of FROMVILLE. And there's too many people in this town. They have settled into a routine of just staying alive instead of taking risks to actually escape. So was Jade reckless, or was he the only one that was willing to make the hard call? And my third question revolves around Elgin. I am still debating in my head whether I liked his ending or not. Now, personally, I love that he refused Sophia's bargain or her deal per se. He didn't make a bargain and turn against the town. But that doesn't erase everything that he's done, but I do think that redeemed him just a little bit. But I do wonder if he should have just accepted the bargain just to stay alive long enough to go and tell Boyd and team who Sophia was. Obviously, the man in yellow or Sophia would have killed him right after they found out, but still, he would have been able to give the team a heads up. And next question, this is just a light question. It might be nothing, but Randall's scar, did you notice how his scar seemed pretty much healed up? I mean, you still see it there, but the stitches look like they're removed, and it looks totally different from the last time that we saw Randall. So that just makes me wonder, is FROMVILLE accelerating the healing process, or is something going on with Randall? And my last most important question to you all is, what would you rate this finale? For me, I thought that the first half of the finale was phenomenal, but I was let down by the end of the episode because I really wanted the townspeople to find out who Sophia was. Because I'm getting tired of seeing Sophia on my screen, and honestly, I am really tired of her antics. And I'm still hoping and wishing that Sophia is not the ultimate big bad. I hope that we still get to meet like the ultimate entity in season 5. Otherwise, I will be gravely disappointed. But nonetheless, guys, if you made it this far in the video, let me know you're still here and drop me down a $sign or a money bag emoji down below. Also, make sure you like the video and hype me up if you have any points left. But thank you all so much for rocking with me this entire season 4 of From. I will also be covering Silo season 3, which comes out this Friday, July 3rd. And I might also be covering Lanterns when that comes out in August. But that's all I have for today, guys. Until I see you next time, you all stay safe out there. Peace.